Hey internet, it's Wes Gardner, your boy, Kami the Hobo himself. It's Game of the Year time. We got a top 10 list right here, but hey, if you want to go and look at some other articles that are Game of the Year themed, check out KamiTheHobo.com. We got some guest articles, we have games that didn't make the cut, some honorable mentions, all that good stuff. But without further ado, let's get into my actual honest to goodness top 10 of 2015. Pillars of Eternity was quite the surprise. It's a great example of what happens when a Kickstarter campaign goes right. Brought to you by Obsidian Entertainment. It came out earlier this year, and I've had quite a bit of time with it, and I'm pleased to say that not only is it very nostalgic towards Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, all of the Infinity Engine titles that I love dearly and grew up with, but it's a great RPG in its own right. It has great characterization, very good writing, very atmospheric. It really does feel like you're reading a fantasy novel. You're being part of it, and it's very, very engaging. Combat's good. It's a lot of fun. It has an expansion pack. Part 2 is coming out, I think, next month for the White March. But overall, I might go on record as saying this is the best game Obsidian has ever made. Here's some real talk for you. I have never played and completed Super Metroid. In fact, the only game like Super Metroid I've ever played to any form of completion is Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow for the DS. So I'm blown away that Axiom Verge came out, and not only came out, but kind of ignited this spark of love for the quote-unquote Metroidvania style of game. It's very simple, it's very basic. The unlock system, it just goes from point A to point B. You get things as you need them. Now, this game is so good it makes me want to go back and play other games in the genre, because I think I'll be able to kind of get into them more. Axiom Verge is, the best way I can put it, is the best intro to this type of game. And it came out in 2015. How kick-ass is that? But yeah, this was all made by one person, one or two people. Amazing stuff, but this is, in my opinion, the true indie darling of the year. Axiom Verge, super good. If you guys haven't played it, do yourselves a favor. I think it's $15 on Steam, something like that. It's worth full price, absolutely. I'm having a ton of fun with it. Tales of Zestiria is like playing a long-lost PlayStation 1 RPG I never got around to. I love the mechanics of it. The battle system's great in true Tales style. The characters are actually pretty interesting. The story's going in interesting directions. I'm about 30 hours into it, but overall, I'm really digging it. It gives me a very Star Ocean: The Second Story, Breath of Fire 3 vibe, and if you know me, I'm a big fan of those two games, so that wins some brownie points for me right there. But also, Tales is coming to the PC now. I know I have Tales of Symphonia coming out in February, the HD kind of remaster they put out on PS3, which I'm excited about. I've played that game a ton, but I'm very much looking forward to playing it again. But Tales is a great series. I'm very happy to see it on PC. Tales of Zestiria is a great one to get into, especially if it's your first one. This might be a great place to start. But overall, love the game. It hit all of the right nostalgic buttons for me, so it's definitely worth checking out. Rocket League is such a simple premise. All it is soccer with cars, right? Like that old Simpsons episode. But I believe this is where things like esports should go, because it's so simple, anyone can follow it. We all love watching people play Rocket League. We all like playing Rocket League. There's something very basic about it, but there's something very addictive and simple about being the one to be able to block the shot or make the game-winning goal, or it's a game of little tiny moments, and you can just go and do it straight in without really thinking too much about strategy. Or if you're working with a few of your buddies, an online league or things like that, you can make it as serious as you want to. But I think that's the beauty of Rocket League, is you know exactly what you're going to get, right? You're looking at the footage, you see a car, you see the soccer ball. It's just as fun as you think it's going to be. In fact, I would say it's even more fun than you think it's going to be. It's a genius idea. And I think this is the type of game that should take over esports. Everyone can do it. Everyone can do it. There's no barrier to entry. You just go in, you have fun, you have a blast. But yeah, Rocket League is amazing. Now here's a game that's gotten a lot of flack this year, and it's actually kind of surprising. I understand where everyone is coming from saying that Star Wars Battlefront does not have a lot of depth, but for a lot of people where that's going to be a negative, for me that was a positive. I'm so overwhelmed with competitive games. They're just, I don't know, it gives me a lot of anxiety to log on and, what do I do, and what's the best loadout, and what's the best build, and what's the best map, and what's my strategy, and there's just a lot to think about nowadays, and more people want games that are more and more complex. But the same with Rocket League earlier, I find beauty in the simplicity. I know at any time I can turn on Star Wars Battlefront and have fun, and that's what it's really about for me. I don't have the time to dedicate to learn builds and get to level prestige 70 to get the gun, like golden gun. I don't have that type of time. I just don't. So having a game that's set in the Star Wars universe that is very fun to pick up and play. You can play it with your buds. You can even play it solo. You don't need your own vent channel or anything like that. You can just drop in. Even in a random game, you're going to have a blast. There's something to do. Sure, there's not a lot of longevity, but I do believe that the beauty is in how simple it is. You can just have fun, and that's what it's really about. So here we are. This, in my opinion, is the dark horse of the list. Dying Light is, without question, the best zombie game I've ever played. I've played DayZ, H1Z1, the Walking Dead adventure games. This is the best zombie-based game. They got everything right. The combat feels amazing. It has that sense of tension without being unfair. The parkour feels wonderful. This is everything Dead Island, I guess, was supposed to be. But I just love it. I love the side quests. I love the system where you can shop and get things for free every day because you helped out in the camp. There are small little details in this game that add up to something huge. Huge. And I can't stop playing it. It's so much fun. It's an open world-esque game, which, I mean, you can go and find different items and crafting and things like that, but it's still very well focused on what it wants to do, and for that I give it huge props. But oh man, it's so much fun. I kind of want to stop narrating and go play it again. I mean, you all know me, right? Whoever would have guessed that a Dark Souls-styled game would be on my Game of the Year list, and so high up on the list. But Bloodborne, after Bloodborne, I get it. Beforehand, I have Dark Souls, I have Dark Souls 2, I recently just bought Scholar of the First Sin, and I didn't quite click with it. It was difficult, and yeah, it was kind of engaging, but it just didn't work for me. But Bloodborne, I get it. And I think the reason why is because Bloodborne definitely rewards more offense from the player. The best way I can compare it is with Dark Souls 1 and 2, from what I've played, you're put into a situation and you have to deal with it. But with Bloodborne, you create the situation. And I think that design principle is huge. And I love it. I love Bloodborne. It's super addictive. I'm not very good at it, but I finally get it. I finally get what the hype is about Dark Souls. The rumor is Dark Souls 3 is going to be set up a lot more like Bloodborne in the offensive style, and I'm super stoked for it. I'm actually excited enough that I re-downloaded Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, and I'm going to try it. I can't make promises, but hey, Bloodborne is where it is at. In my opinion, it is the game that is a killer app for PlayStation 4. Like, it is a system seller. It is that good. Yes, the hype is real. If it converted me, it converts anybody. That's all I'm going to say on it. But Bloodborne is incredible. The Witcher 3 is big. It's big on everything. It's big on combat, on storytelling, on the size of the world map. There's a lot going on in the game. There are a lot of moving pieces, but they all come together and work together to make one of my favorite role-playing games. And there's a lot to love here. The combat is difficult without being unfair. Witcher 1 and 2 were notoriously janky, but because the stance style stuff is kind of handled automatically here, I felt like I had more control over the combat. It's not to say it's easy. It's really not. It does have that same satisfaction of like a Bloodborne, to where, you know, if it's a hard boss, you know, no shame in kind of dropping that difficulty. I know I had to. Bloody Baron, I'm looking at you. But everything about the game is so well put together. Even Gwent is awesome. The card game that they give you. It gave me flashbacks to Triple Triad in in Final Fantasy VIII, going around the world and looking for cards and betting and gambling and all that stuff. It's so much fun. But overall, just a stellar game. There's not a lot that I could say against it. I mean, it's difficult, but hey, if that's your cup of tea, there you go. I would love to get good at a competitive game. I see people play League of Legends, I see people play Dota, StarCraft, Counter-Strike, all of these games that have huge kind of esports followings, but the barrier to entry is ridiculous. So this is why I love Heroes of the Storm. Definitely the game that I put the most time in 2015. Heroes of the Storm takes everything that I love about a Dota style game, which is learning maps, understanding positioning, what are the team balances, how do you counter, but it gets rid of the stuff that I find a little repetitive, like, oh, in my last hitting, creeps in the lane, can I afford my sword at 2 minutes, can I, you know, what is someone jungling, is someone, you know, you have to be in the right lane, or if you're doing it this way, you're doing it wrong. Heroes of the Storm is more relaxed in kind of the minutia of esports. Some people will say it's not nearly as deep, and that's probably true, but I would much rather play Heroes of the Storm than League of Legends. And I can just get with my buddies, we can just make a team comp, go on there, make fools of ourselves, and have a blast. But with the type of community that kind of these esports-centric games usually have, Heroes of the Storm feels a little bit more relaxed, a little more chill. It's not make or break. You know, you don't have to quit your job to get good at this game. And I can appreciate that because, you know, I want to hop in. Even I can play a bot match, still get gold, still unlock characters. And I think I'm also coming into this as a huge Blizzard fan, so I know every one of these characters, and all of their moves make sense. So I'm constantly rewarded. I'm learning a game. I have that competitive feeling, even if it's not as cutthroat as something you may see, you know, on a Twitch stream. But overall, love the game. It's definitely my go-to competitive game, and it's by far and away my favorite multiplayer game of the year.
Well deserved, heroes.
Metal Gear Solid 5 has its fair share of problems. The game is clearly incomplete. The second, I guess, chapter of the game is very repetitive, to say the least. But none of that matters to me. What this game does right, it does perfectly. This is the game that I didn't know I wanted. It takes my favorite aspects of Metal Gear Solid, the favorite gameplay stuff of Peace Walker, which is an amazing game that you guys should play, It takes the open range mentality of a Red Dead Redemption. It takes the stealth of a Splinter Cell or Tenchu. And it takes the open-ended aspect of a Grand Theft Auto. And then ties it with my favorite video game series ever, which is Metal Gear. The story is as bananas as you can possibly think. I love the plot twists. I think I've always unironically thought Kojima was a genius. And I think this is the best kind of punk rock middle finger to Konami. It had this huge budget. It kind of got away from Kojima. You know, he's one of those guys. He's super ambitious. But it's a game that keeps rewarding you the more that you play it. And the twist, of course, affects every other game in the Metal Gear series. The story's so outlandish at this point, but I love it. I can't help it. I love it. This game was everything I wanted it to be, and then some. I will tell you, I was pissed the first time I saw the plot twist. I was actually angry, and then I slept on it, I thought about it, and now I think it is one of the most genius things I've ever done. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments about this. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5, my game of the year. I didn't even play the online part. I do not even care. I'm just saying this from the single player part. I had so much fun. Customizing the guns was great. Recruiting people for your base was fantastic. The whole Diamond Dogs idea, awesome. Just great characters. It's a great series. If this is the last Metal Gear game, then God bless, because awesome. Like I love it. There's so many faults, and you guys are not wrong. You guys might shoot me down in the comments, and hey, you're not wrong. But by far and away, my favorite game, the game I always put a smile on my face to load up, was Metal Gear Solid 5.
DD, right? I'll slit raising hell.